Davies in the middle. Checks back against Carter and scores. That is atypical for the Amina Margot.
Quickly gets it back again. Oh, what a goal! Well, that sums up her season. The Gunners are WSL champions.
Welcome back to the Vic Akers Wonderland podcast. Don't know what happened there, brain went. Your home for everything Arsenal. I'm your host Lottie, and today we're breaking down the North London derby between Arsenal and Tottenham, which was played on Sunday. But as always, my partner in crime has joined me tonight. Matt, how are you doing?
Deflated, I think, is the best word I can use. That's not a swear word, because if I was to sum up the performance, it would be a very much a lot of swearing and annoyance, I think. I'm glad we didn't do this after the game, because I think a lot of the time, for a lot of us, post-game, everyone was very agitated. I mean, look at what happened when a certain game happened at that stadium, and they walked away with what shouldn't have happened, really, but it happened. But there was a lot of tension, I think, post game from Arsenal fans that day, and I think there's definitely a lot of tension post game. Luckily, there's another game around the corner just before the international break. I think that's the only lucky thing I can say about that right now.
My bad, I'm sitting here talking to myself. It finished 0-0, but don't be fooled, there's plenty to unpack. But we'll go through the build-up, key moments, tactical, story of the match, player performances, and what it means to both sides going forward. We'll start with the backdrop. Arsenal, we came into this game under pressure, especially after the last two results, although one wasn't exactly our fault. We're sitting fourth in the table, 11 points for Spurs. We're ahead on goal difference. For Spurs, this was a chance to prove their recent progress is real, do you think, Matt?
Yes. I mean, I know I had my little bit of rant and rave a bit, but last time I saw Tottenham play was against Everton, and as again, to quote Schneider Twain, that don't impress me much, because they really didn't. And again, I was not impressed. I'm not seeing a team here, if I'm being honest. I feel they're going down, if we're going to go into it analysis-wise, further down the line. I think we'll talk about that. But yeah, just it don't impress me much. It just seems to be... No, I'll save that for the tactical stuff for the moment.
Historically, Derby Day has been one of our twice a season, if we're lucky, 3 times a season. One of our favourite days of the year. We've won our last 3 meetings with Spurs without conceding any goals. So that means René's record is intact, never losing to Spurs. But I have to say, they look so much more organised under their new coaching staff. Whereas we're struggling to find consistency this season, and I've got to be honest, this derby did feel a lot more balanced than usual. I know I was all revved up, and I was guaranteeing 3 things in life: death, taxes, and Beth England scoring against Arsenal. But you just don't know where we're going at the moment, and sometimes I think, I don't know if it's a mental block, or we're just moving because we're moving a midfielder. I don't know what it is with us at the moment. I can't put my finger on it.
So let's just break it down. Good news is that it was a clean sheet. I know that's going to come further down the line, but it was a clean sheet. The last time the team had a clean sheet, my mind's drawn a blank. Just going
Benfica
back on few back
is my next
Benfica. Yeah, see.
one, I think.
So the
Benfica.
lot no. So in the league, I can't even say Leicester because that was 4-1. I can't even think the last time Arsenal got a clean sheet against someone in the league. So that
It
tells
was
you everything.
Benfica. It was Benfica,
No,
and then it was
in the
Brighton.
league. There we go.
Brighton.
Right. Okay. So
Benfica, then
we're
Brighton.
talking
The
about
last two games for the break.
2 or 3 months. So
Only about a month ago.
uh,
Month ago.
you see,
Not
these
that long.
games come thick and fast, and I
Yeah.
can't
So
keep up.
literally, Benfica was the 16th of October. That was about a month and a day ago, and then Sunday the 12th of October.
So with that in mind, it was needed. The clean sheet was needed. Let's put it that way. That's the positive. The negative is the fact that I don't think that the right players are being put in the starting 11. Now, Derby Day, I would put this amongst the cat amongst the pigeons. I want to see the players that get it. So for that perspective, that means the players of the likes of Kim Little, Lesia Russo, Chloe Kelly, because she would understand the history on the side of it. Beth Mead as well. She actually, and the fact that Beth Mead usually does quite well in these fixtures as well. Caitlin Ford usually is quite good in this fixture as well. It just felt like they didn't really understand the assignment and they didn't get what was happening half the time. If you understand where I'm coming from, if you don't, it's just sometimes. Let's take Olivia Smith. She would probably know about the fixture, but she wouldn't understand what it means until you play in one. I'm not taking anything away from Olivia Smith. She's a fantastic player, and there's a reason why she was worth £1 million. I mean, we saw that in the first game of the season with that fantastic goal. But I just don't. I think Rennie has picked the right players of late to get the results, or she's done things too little, too late. So, for example, let's go back to the Champions League. That disaster class. You're 2-0 up at half time. As soon as they go one, they bring one back. At that moment in time, you've got two options. You change something so that you can try and get something from the game, or you try and swap someone in defence so that you stop what just happened happening again. Now, bear in mind that Pernille Harder has a hold on this Arsenal team but she is the bane of Arsenal, let's put it that way. But it's almost like that with Beth England. Beth England has been the bane of Arsenal in recent past, and it just feels like tactically Rennie didn't get the situation correct to begin with, and that puts you into not loopholes. That leaves you questioning a lot of the decisions because then it's like a knock-on effect. I think it's quite funny actually. I was talking to someone at work earlier today, and we were talking about Murphy's law, which is anything that could go wrong can go wrong, and that's essentially what has felt like it has happened at the club so far the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad you dipped into team news. Yeah, team news did tell its own story. I mean, Spurs were missing their long-term absentees, but Lias Kopp managed to be fit with her wonderful Batwoman mask, I should say, to start in goal. Backline, including Hunt, Neville, Neilden. They did end up being crucial for them in the end. Again, we were out without Leah Williamson, no Kim Little, and our attack featured Russo, Blackstenius, Mead, and Ford on the heavy hitters. On paper, we got enough firepower to score multiple goals, but that is not how it played out. But another positive on the midfield side of things, Kyra Cooney-Cross did start. What a miracle, Matt.
Now, with everything being said, Kyra Cooney-Cross has become a player that you look at now and you understand her influence in the team. And that's not just because there isn't Kim Little there. There is the fact that she and the fact that my former favourite Leah Volti has gone off to Juventus. She has had to learn to step up. And to be honest, I'm going to be. You know what? Barring everything, she has probably been our player of the season. If you're going to look, if anyone says, "Oh, Alessia Russo," well, Alessia Russo usually will be because she's there to score goals. Stina Blackstone is the same. Olivia Smith, Beth Mead, etc. All the usual favourites. But for me, Kyra's stepping up this season, and you know what? I think the only thing missing is if she could get a couple of goals. I think that would be quite nice to see this season. Just had to get a couple of goals, and then that starts to be she's the ultimate package. And then you look into that midfield and go, yeah, if one of the midfielders is injured or not playing, it's not much of a loss at this moment in time. I see if Frida Mon's not playing, you probably lose goals, but she doesn't usually score. She's not usually scoring. If Vic Palova's not playing, then you lose that aggressiveness. Whereas Kyra's the complete package of both Marnham and Palova in terms of she is aggressive and the fact that she can go and score goals, and they're usually wonder goals as well.
I think to me, I got a little bit excited when I saw Kyra starting because you kind of looked at the shape that we were going to play in as a 4-4-2, and I know for a fact where I've watched some of the Australia games, I don't know if you have, Matt, but Kyra has her best games when she's in a 4-4-2. And I was kind of excited to see what she could do. But I got kind of the feeling her confidence was down on the floor. In those opening minutes, she wasn't. When you look at the opening minutes and you can hear all the Arsenal fans and stuff, and you can see her talking to Katie, talking to Beth, it was just zero kind of emotion there.
It is difficult. I think the problem is the opening 10 minutes for Derby is usually when you see. Usually, it gets the atmosphere going a bit because all it takes is the first tackle, the first. Usually it's the first tackle, or in Arsenal's case, it's usually the first goal within the first 5 minutes because Beth Mead's through on goal and she does what Beth Mead does best and putting it into the back of the net. We didn't see any of that, and it was. I think that played an impact, to be honest. Bear in mind, this game last season, Alessia Russo scored about after, I think it was on the second minute, which was roughly about 1 minute 30. I think that might have just been under that. But it was just one of those where the first 10 minutes set the pace of the game, and the first 10 minutes was just could have told the story of the game, really.
No, I completely agree. I mean, we completely dominated the ball. We spent long stretches in Spurs halves, whether you're looking at the first half or the second half. But what really irritated me is, for once, I'm actually going to say something positive about Spurs. They were incredibly disciplined in the way that they had the deep defensive blocks and they absorbed the pressure from us. They forced us to make mistakes. And I think what really frustrated me is that they slowed the game straight down. We don't play slow football. And that's one thing that actually frustrates the hell out of me, is when we slow down, all of a sudden we don't know what to do with the ball. I don't know if this drives you absolutely nuts, but they were more in control of the tempo than we were.
And that's where the more experienced players come in to play a part. Kyra is still fairly young. Mariona Caldente is right beside her, in which case Mariona needs to be the one dictating the play. And for her to understand it, this is our Real Madrid, essentially. not in terms of trophies or anything like that. It's basically, this is our Real Madrid. This is the one that we always want to. If we're the Barcelona in this, we always win this. One way or another, we win it.
Once, and the Qualms would not let us forget it.
Yes. Yes, as they kept constantly remind us on the day itself. But it's just one of these where I was really hoping that this would be the turning point. I don't know if we're going to talk about Saturday or the previous games of the weekend. He's shrugging a little bit, so I'll hold off on that point.
No, continue. Go ahead. Go for it.
So basically, Chelsea dropped points. Thank you, Liverpool, by the way. Do appreciate that, Gareth Taylor. City went and beat Man United. So that basically
that was a beautiful game to watch. I will say that.
It did mean that all Arsenal needed to do was to turn up and put a couple of goals past Tottenham. Hopefully not to go all Captain Obvious about it, but just score more than Tottenham did at the end of the day. And you would have been I would actually say you would have been in the title race. And to turn up with a performance like that come the end, it's not good enough.
No, it's not. The thing is, like, we had it all on a plate and we're still doing it the hard way. And that's, I think, as a fan, is really frustrating. As I said, Spurs, they didn't commit too many forward, didn't chase the game recklessly like they usually do. They just frustrated us and took the point. And it kind of worked, unfortunately. It was just really, it was a little annoying. You kind of sit there and watch the results come through. I mean, Brighton got their first 3 points in ages.
West Ham
Liverpool
as well.
scraped the win. West Ham got their first win of the season over the weekend. I mean, it's difficult to watch all these come through. Chelsea dropping points, Man United dropping points, and you're just kind of in limbo. It's what we've been waiting for, and we didn't capitalise on it. Thing is, the girls would have known the scores beforehand, before the game started, because they all finished about 10 to 3 o'clock, depending on which game you were watching because of the extra added minutes. But I will give Tottenham their credit. They had over 6,000 fans in their stadium for the derby atmosphere. Majority of those were Arsenal fans, and there's new records that have been set. I think a few moments that stood out for me was the early spells of pressure that never quite turned into goals. Again, Spurs' ability to slow tempo whenever we looked threatening, and it kind of fizzled everything out. And I think the couple of late chances that we had in the second half, which summed up the afternoon, close, but not clinical.
There felt like a very late 2000s Arsenal vibe to it, if you know what I mean, where Arsenal were trying to put it into the back of the net by playing this beautiful passing football, when it needed just someone just to blast it at the end and blast it. I mean, I lost count how many times Stina Blackstenius had the ball. She lost it in the box, or she was trying to play a pass that in retrospect, she should have just had the shot. And you know what? If she'd had the shot and it got blocked, or it took a deflection and went for a corner, I think we would have been happier for it. But there needs to be a time and a place where the team's critical thinking in the final third needs to be better. Now, Chloe Kelly is a finisher and a half. We've seen it for club and country in the past and present. Olivia Smith, she is a player of brilliant moments. Give her an inch, she'll give you give her an inch, or she'll give you about.
She'll take a mile.
Well, more than a mile. She'll take the entire pitch.
Yeah, no, that's the saying. Give her an inch, she'll take a mile. That's the saying.
Yes,
Sorry, I think that's what you were trying to say.
Yes, the point of the matter is Olivia Smith basically look at that first goal for Arsenal. Like, she was given so much space, so much time, and she was like, "Thank you so much. I'll have a shot," and she goes and scores an absolute banger.
Yeah, I think Neil didn't realise she actually had to work when Olivia Smith came on. I mean, she had a fairly easy time on that wing until Olivia Smith turned up. I was quite excited when Olivia Smith came on because I was like, oh, an ejection of speed. This is going to kind of ruin that sort of wing. And it did. When you look at the stats, I think at one point it was 76% down I think it's the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Yeah, down the right-hand side, sorry. I just had to kind of picture everything in my head there. So I think that was a stat during the game when it comes up on the screen. And we were only doing 19 down the left. And it was just like, we know where the holes are, but it's just not kind of coming all together.
And the problem is usually one result can dictate what your mentality goes into in the next one. I mean, the mentality. I just can't believe how it's gone from. This should have been the reset button, and you know what? It reminds me of. Do you remember towards the end of the season when we were it was between us, Manchester City, Manchester United, and everyone was playing as bad as each other, and Chelsea were running away with the title. At that point, it reminds me so much of this point because it's almost like, no, you have that spot, no, you have that spot, no, and then
but the thing is, that's the great thing about this season. Something's a bit off, and it's possibly making room for a different champion instead of like seeing a banner in the Emirates that says 7 in a row. That's what I don't want to see, because I saw 6 this year and it annoyed me. From the Chelsea game in the away end.
Chelsea need to lose a game for that to happen. Let's be honest about that.
Well, it's coming, but it's coming from someone. I mean, Liverpool held them, so that isn't as solid as it usually is, because you can normally rely on a clean sheet from them in the fantasy football.
No, but then
I'll be honest with you, I've not touched any Chelsea defenders this season. I've not touched them. I've got Hannah Hampton, but she's out at the minute, so she's benched.
Oh, I've got Millie Bright.
You like to curse your players, that's the difference.
Well, I'm not, to be honest, this season, don't back any of my players because they don't seem to be getting the goals apart from Bunny Shaw. It's just
Bunny Shaw is just incredible. She plays for City, but she's an incredible player.
The problem is that if you know what Chelsea are going to do, and that is in the January window, they'll somehow try and buy like another billion players for another £1 million from somewhere which you have no idea where they're getting these sort of money from.
Oh, no!
To try and fix the problem.
Everyone knows what they're doing, but nobody legally wants to call it out. I mean, the latest rumor is us, Chelsea, and someone else. I think it might be Barcelona. I want to say Barcelona, but I could be wrong. We're all looking at Trinity Rodman.
Well, our contract's up at the
end of the season.
Next year.
So, end of the NWSL season?
Yeah, that would be next year.
Yeah.
I'm going off my FM data. I was looking at that.
Yeah, no, I saw that today, scrolling through my Twitter sphere.
She has said why not, whether or not it was a joke or not. But
the thing is, you know that push is going to be towards Chelsea because of Emma Hayes. You know it's coming. You know it's coming, but I don't see why they need her. Naomi Goma hasn't had a sniff at all, whereas Ellie Carpenter's just walked into it.
Yeah. I think this is down to the fact that the US players, a lot of them are rare. What's the word I'm going to use? Silver dough? No, that's the wrong word. Basically, is as rare as you can get. That players like Emily Fox are another word for it.
Diamonds in the rough.
Diamond in the rough, dime a dozen, whichever one you prefer. It's very hard to find, but this is why player recruitment is so important because you look at Arsenal. Arsenal are trying to find the right player to fit along the manager. Whereas, so if Trinity Rodman, I know this is transfer talk, if Trinity Rodman was going to come into Arsenal, it has to be where is she going to play? How is she going to play along with the others? Is she going to fit into the system? If not, can she? And what type of player is she? Is she a player? I don't like to call out Caitlin Ford as much as possible anymore, but is she like a Caitlin Ford where she'll only turn up for about 5 games a season, and then the other time she's just on cruise control, or is she going to be like Mariona Caldente? She's going to be the player that says, okay, if that's the team standard, I'm going to push it even more. Mariona Caldente expects excellence each season, and if you don't get anything, she's going to be either walking or she'll be pushing to say, come on, you need to do better than that.
Oh no, I couldn't agree more. But we're going to veer back to the game again. I'm sorry, I've sidetracked there. So tactically, it was a classic control vs containment battle. Would you say, Matt?
Yes, and I again we'll go back to the lineups. I think Renee Schlager's got the starting 11 wrong. It's very rare that you see Beth Mead not do anything on the pitch. Usually she's at the forefront of either creating chances or doing excellent defensive work at stopping the wing. And if I'm being honest, before she got substituted, she was doing really well. And it did annoy me a little bit that she was substituted, because the one player I thought that should have been substituted before her was, again, Caitlin Ford.
I love the idea that Emily Fox scored against Munich. But I think what irritated me was Beth was doing Emily's job and Emily was down the front. I know we can switch roles throughout the game, but Beth spent a lot more time on that back line than she did up top during that first half for me.
It is a cause for concern, and I do wonder, now that you mention it, I do wonder if it's a fitness issue or it's something that's been instructed, by Renee or by the defensive coach or whoever's coaching that side of the pitch. If you're trying to find new ways to play and introduce players into certain phases of the pitch, that it's a good idea and it's a good way to confuse the opposition, but it also confuses your own players at the same time, which is
absolutely,
which is why I kind of like the fact that we've got players like Olivia Smith and Chloe Kelly and Beth Mead. They can basically, and Caitlin Ford as well, they can all rotate, but whether or not they do a better enough job when they rotate like 20 minutes into the game is another question.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the press was high, possession was dominated, the wings were overloaded, but it was Tottenham's shape that we just couldn't get through, where they were sitting deeper and defending in numbers. I mean, they used a tight midfield to block the passing lanes. Normally we have room for passing lanes, but I noticed that every time Alessia got the ball, is it Oh, I've forgotten her name. Sorry.
Cinnamon.
No, it wasn't Cinnamon. It was.
I'm trying to remember.
Koga.
Oh,
Their new centre back, the one that did a handball and Brighton cheated them out of points. She was just completely on her, and it really, really annoyed me because from where we were sitting, we could see where Koga had come out the back line. There was a big gap, and we never exploited it in that first half. They seemed to kind of realise they were doing that in the first half. The second half, there was just no room. But Koga was completely glued to Alessia every time she had the ball. If we just made the right pass and exploited that space and had Stina in the right spot, I think we could have got on to goal, but it was not sort of recognising that space was there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, just tactically, if you the problem with the 4-4-2 is that it becomes too rigid in terms of these are your form. This is where you play. If this is a traditional Sunday league, essentially, is everyone plays the 4-4-2. It means that you don't have that flexibility in that midfield as much as, say, the 4-2-3-1 or the 4-3-3, which we usually see. It does feel like it's an experiment that it was tried, it was tested, and it didn't work because there wasn't a Kim Little or a Leo Williamson to really help adjust. Now, with that being said, it also doesn't help that if you know you're going to play a 4-4-2, why have you not got another striker? Now, obviously, Sharajaman went over to Brighton, injured us, got herself injured with an ACL. So now she's got a year out. This time next year, she'll be back on the pitch. Touching wood, that is the case. So it means that what do? Do you go out and buy someone on loan for 6 months if you're going to consist with a 4-4-2, or are you going to look at maybe someone from the Swedish league and maybe one of their contracts is turning out or what? But these are questions that are going to need to be asked and answered. I think the only other alternative would be playing Olivia Smith up front. But that means Olivia Smith would be, instead of a winger, she'll be another forward, which means you'd be light of a midfielder, which means either way, you need to fill that position with someone else.
Oh no, I completely get where you're coming from. But even if we did put Olivia Smith there, who gets benched or who gets moved? That is the question for me.
Who gets benched, who gets moved? So if you're going to do Olivia Smith up front, she would work best with Alessia Russo, and this is because Alessia is the player that is it's that big and large, the Peter Crouch to Michael Owen essentially. Alessia Russo heads down the ball. Olivia Smith scores.
What an analogy!
That's the sort of thing. The other analogy is the Crouch and Defy, but I prefer Michael Owen to Defy, but that's just me. But anyway, the little and large combination is usually what you see in a 4-4-2. You don't really see a Steiner and a basically a Peter Crouch and a Peter Crouch because they're doing the same thing. So it's just finding ways to adjust that. Essentially, it would mean that there'll be one winger on the bench each week in terms of Caitlin Ford, Alessia Russo, and Beth Mead. Not Alessia Russo, Chloe Kelly, Beth Mead, and Caitlin Ford in that case. But it would work because it means that Stina can come on towards the end and either she goes off for Alessia, which means it's like for like swap, or she comes off for Olivia or someone else. Say Caitlin Ford comes off, for example. Olivia Smith then goes left on the left, which means it's a straight swap, and then there's confusion in that final third.
Yeah, so there'll be a shape change whoever comes off the bench, basically. But the thing is, I think what worries me is Stina Blackstenius has proved time and time again she is the big game player, and she's scored the winning goals for the last 3 trophies. If I remember rightly. I know it's definitely the last 2. What worries me is if we go into this, if we go into this, will she lose even more minutes and then will we lose her? Because I don't want to lose her. She is my current favourite. It's just one of those things I can't. It's not more. I can't. I'm not willing to accept that she's going to go if she's not going to get the minutes.
I think when she sat down and signed that first contract, that contract extension, I don't think she was expecting to win a Champions League trophy. But now she's got that in the bag. there's only two trophies that she hasn't won with Arsenal. Well, 3 with the trophy coming up in January. But with that in mind, I don't think I see Stina going until she's won a WSL or an FA Cup, which means she might be leaving in the summer, or she might have an extra year. In which case, if she's got an extra year, she's got to then decide come the end of the season, is she gonna carry on being this player, or is it time to find her assets a bigger role? I don't. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Bayern Munich come in for her. I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of the other clubs, Lyon would probably be most likely, of the French clubs to really probably consider her. Maybe PSG as well, as they probably do need another striker. But it all depends on what happens between now and the end of the season for me, and also, and if my issue is if they say Lesia gets an issue for 2 weeks, can Stina Blackstenius step up into that role? I know she stepped up when in that season where everything that could go wrong went wrong, Murphy's Law and all that, and she did really well. But we need to see that consistently. Unfortunately, it still seems like if Stina's through on goal and you back her, she ends up going and hitting the ball wide, which she has done multiple times for England, against England, for Sweden, and for Arsenal as well.
I'm not complaining against England. I'm not going to say that. But when it's in an Arsenal shirt, it's frustrating.
I really thought that was going in the back of the net. I'm not going to lie. And she hits it wide, and you're thinking, how have you hit it wide? But
yeah, no. I was so happy about that. I sort of said to someone when we were watching that, and I went, if there's any time I need her to miss, it's today. And it happened. I was like, yes. I was very, very, very happy.
Yeah, that was a very strange day, because you're thinking, she threw on goal here, she's going to score. And
absolutely. Absolutely. Right. So for us now, as we said earlier, it's a missed opportunity. We need wins to stay near the top 3, and the frustration is clear. We're not getting anywhere. We've got the quality, but it's just not the cutting edge, like the Viper's bite, which is really bugging me. I feel like Spurs made a statement for the point. A clean sheet against us in a derby sends a little bit of a message, but I think they're light years off us, if I'm honest with you. A lot of people are saying this fixture is no longer a guaranteed 3 points fixture for us.
So, just to put into context, Martin Ho is 35 years old. So he's a young, aspiring coach who's now got the chance to be a coach at the start of this season. He's implemented his game plan, and his game plan is based on defensive stability. At this moment in time, it's still a juggle, because you look at some of the age of that Tottenham squad. They're age-wise, it's not an average age that I think a lot of people would be proud of, to be honest. I think they're one of the oldest teams in the league, if you were to list off half their players. They are, in footballing terms, coming towards the end of their career. So he's got a build on his hands. But in this context, with what he's done with the squad, it's impressive. But as I said earlier, it doesn't impress me much.
You must be a massive fan of Shania Twain, because that's like the 3rd or 4th time you've come. And I'm sitting here making jokes while I've got the mic muted. Fantastic. And as I was just saying muted, as you're all sitting there going, what is she doing? I was saying, you must be a massive Shania Twain fan, because that's about the 3rd or 4th time you've quoted her in this podcast. Looking at that league table, it looks very tight. at the minute. I know City a couple of points clear up top, but every point matters, especially in games like this. Even if bragging rights are on the line, I mean, do you think we can turn our league position around and climb a little bit higher, Matt?
I hope so. I think people are starting to think now that that's the end of the title race for Arsenal. After this, I'm going to forgive me. I'm going to get the amount of games that we have wrong. I think it's 8 or 8. I will just double check that. But basically, in this case,
I do apologise. I was not in for no reason. Sorry.
Matches. Here we go. Right, it's a table. We have played. I was 1 off 9, apart from Aston Villa and Liverpool, who have played 8 because of the situation with Matt Beard. But yeah, 9 games in, and so they're Arsenal sitting 4th with 16 points, and Manchester City are on 24 points. That's an 8-point gap. That the difference between that and say Chelsea, who are on 21, 65 points, and then against Manchester United you got 1 point. Well, at this moment in time, where would you say, right, okay, we're near the halfway point, who's what are you thinking? Well, I'm thinking at the moment it's not a title race that Arsenal are looking at. It's at the moment they're looking at again chasing that second, because Manchester City are running away with the league at the moment in time. Now, it's a concern because you look at each team individually in that top 4. Again, Chelsea, they'll continue to get their luck, and eventually that luck will run out.
No, they'll just get beat somewhere, and then they'll just go and annihilate whoever's in their path. That's how it works for them. You know that.
But once they get it might end up being too many draws, ends up spoiling the whole point. But that being said, Arsenal that was their 4th draw of the season. That is a concern in itself. They need to be turning these draws into wins to climb up the table. And at this moment in time, what's more concerning for me is that the team are European champions, and they're not figuring things out like champions. The best team, you think of the best teams in the world, whether the men's or women's. Look at Barcelona. Barcelona, a couple of weeks ago lost to Real Betis on a penalty, 1-0. But they came back, and they got this weekend. They played Real Madrid. What did they go and do? They went and won 4-0. So it shows you that this team needs to be figuring everything out that they can, and otherwise it's going to be big expectations lumped into January because things haven't worked out. So I'm going to be honest and say she's got 1 game left Wednesday, before the international break. But I'm really hoping the international break gives her time to relax and rest up, because I think Rennie Sleggers and the entire team need to reconfigure how they're doing this season, because A, it's not good enough, and B, on these performances that we've had over the last couple of weeks, it doesn't get you a trophy. That is the concern.
Oh no, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more there. I am hoping that this international break will be a reset for the girls, and touching wood, everyone comes back in one piece. That is all for tonight. For the London Derby wrap-up, so-called, from the drama to the tension and the result. The only question is, will it shape the narrative for both clubs? We will see. I think that's the conclusion. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps us reach even more of you who enjoy and tune in with us every week. You can follow the podcast on VAW Pod on Twitter, Instagram, And Blue Sky, you can follow me at Lottie_AWFC on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Matt, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at MattLR28.
Platforms?
Well, Twitter and Blue Sky, all the good stuff, really.
Okay. I'm Lottie, and this is the Vic Akers Wonderland podcast. And come on, you Gunners!